My name's Jennifer, and this is Sarah Gustafson. And
Hello.
we're going to be hello, and we're going to be discussing the next gate. So this is the latest newsletter. So we put out a newsletter every week, and then on Fridays we go live and we discuss the newsletter. And this is a series from the heroine's journey. So with that, I will let Sarah take it away.
So this is the gateway number 5 and 6. So if you haven't seen the other previous videos we covered, there's 10 gateways along the heroine's journey. The first video, we talked about the distinctions between the hero's journey and the heroine's journey. And the past few weeks, we've been going from each gateway. So today we're going to talk about the 5th and the 6th gateway, which is... I'll do a quick review here. So we talk about here the 10 gateways. We talked about in our second video the separation from the feminine and the identification with the masculine. And then the road of trials and the illusions of fulfillment was last week's video. Today we're going to talk about awakening to the void, as well as confronting the shadow. So this is the descent and the initiation of the heroine's journey. As I described in the notes below, as well as the description, this is probably the most relatable video that most women will watch or listen to. The storytelling and the examples of what one goes through on the heroine's journey when she begins to awaken to her own emptiness, that spiritual emptiness, and what the descent begins to look like. The symptoms and the circumstances and the experiences that are common themes in these two gateways, again, will be probably the most relatable. And so let's just start with just a quick review. We ended last week in the last video where she has the illusions of success. So she's achieved all the degrees, the diplomas, the career, the marriage, the family, the children, all of her achievements. And she may begin to start feeling like, I've got it all. I have it all. And but she needs more validation. So what does a woman do when she has it all, when she's achieved it all? Where does she get the validation from? Where does she feel like she could connect with others? And that's really what that pursuit of success is. It's more than validation from her external world and those in her life. That validation represents connection to others. And so, seeking out new challenges, finding a new mountain to climb, it's just constant, going through all of those emotions. Eventually she comes to this awareness. She's awakening to this emptiness, that the pursuit of all of this success it just feels empty, because it can't crave the thirst. Every time she achieves something, she wants something else. So eventually she realizes that this isn't working. My need to connect with my outer world through proving myself worthy of that connection through validation via my own successes is not working. I've lost connection to myself, that inner connection. This success no longer feels fulfilling, because it's like eating Chinese food, 20 minutes later, you're hungry again. It's that MSG. So those successes begin to feel empty. This is when she and everything begins to really slow down. So when she awakens to this emptiness, this is gateway 5. Awakening to this has many symptoms. This is what it looks like in her health, her physical health. She may be diagnosed with autoimmune diseases, endocrine issues, thyroid problems, reproductive issues, fertility issues, hormone imbalances, metabolic issues. She may be starting to gain weight and not know why. Her body's changing. She doesn't know what's causing that. Headaches, insomnia are very common as well. That it sort of represents that chaotic loop in her own mind of the confusion, but of what she doesn't know. And so there's just this constant battle between yin and yang. So that can create a lot of headaches, a lot of insomnia. So that's her physical health. Another symptom or example of this, when gateway 5, she starts to enter into this, is the loss of her drive and ambition. She just doesn't feel motivated anymore. Jen and I talked about this a little bit earlier in the week when we were reviewing, how we want to present these gateways. Is that I'm on my 4th plus whatever cycle of the heroine's journey that I'm consciously know of and have worked through myself and I'm aware of. And so I myself now have entered into gateway 5 and am going into gateway 6 again. Because as I shared in the first, second, it may have even repeated that in the third part of this series, is that the heroine's journey is cyclical. It's not a beginning and end. It's a beginning and end to another beginning, to another end, to another beginning. It's very cyclical, and the heroine will experience this many times in her life, and until she really gets it. Not to simplify it in that, but I'll emphasize a little bit what I mean on that later. And so similar is what I'm talking about. There's 4, I would say, main symptoms of it. I covered the health, talking about the limited drive. Her ambition and motivation is sort of dulled out. She's losing creativity, creative force, which may even also include her sexuality. It's like these mood swings, and it's not so much she may lose her sex drive. It may have also a lot to do with her self-doubt resurfacing. We talked about the 5 main myths in gateways 3 and 4. Those myths will continue to reoccur. And so that may affect her own sexuality, her sexual expression. She begins to question that. The third one is dreaming. So a heroine who's kind of waking up to her own spiritual emptiness, that why am I not motivated anymore? Why is the things that I loved, the things that I pursued, the attention and connection I loved getting, why don't I enjoy that as much? Why don't I want that anymore? It feels like this disconnect from her own identity that she has built. And so her dreams may reflect something that's very common theme, which is common having dreams about losing stuff, losing friends, losing a loved one, losing a pet, losing her wallet, losing something. She's losing something. You may find yourself having that recurring dream of losing something, but also, or getting lost or being lost in a dream. So that's very common for the heroine in this gateway where she's starting to wake up. The dreams, if she's avoiding that waking up, as I'll share in a case study with you shortly, is if she continues to avoid that awakening feeling, that awakening understanding, awareness of this constant pursuit of more kids, another relationship, another career, another promotion, another degree is not fulfilling her, she may try to avoid that. But the dreams will come in and remind her and keep reminding her. And those themes tend to be around loss, losing something, losing someone, being lost, getting lost. The 4th main one is she will begin to withdraw. And this isn't always conscious. It's not always a conscious thing. It may be months where she realizes, I notice about myself that I have withdrawn from my social circles. I've withdrawn from this hobby or that activity or this person. She may notice I'm taking a lot more time to be by myself. And I'm noticing I need more time to be alone with myself. Otherwise, going back to this increased, erratic mood disorders. And so She may notice that right away, or it may take months before she realizes, I'm noticing that I need more alone time. And or it may take a family member or a friend to say, like, what's going on with you? You're canceling our meetups more often. You seem to have more excuses as to why you can't attend this thing or join me for coffee. I'm noticing that, like, it takes you longer to respond to text messages. I haven't heard from you a while. We used to talk all the time. It may take someone actually reflecting it back to her. It may take a partner or husband saying, what's going on with you? I notice you don't like playing games with the kids anymore after dinner. I notice that you're not as excited and enthusiastic about things lately. So it can happen in many ways. And so those are the main things, is the physical health. Things may start happening. That is the body is saying, hey, this constant pursuit of climbing the next mountain all the time has become a battleground on your physical body, and the physical body may start to reveal a lot of things: symptoms, disorders, diseases, chronic illness. Just overall, the energy is draining out. Then as another review, the second one, drive, ambition, motivation, creativity kind of tanks, and don't know why. And as I discussed sort of in the newsletter that Jennifer put together, is that there is a pharmaceutical correlation to this that a lot of women can relate to. When she begins to awaken to this emptiness in her and that lack of ambition, that lack of creativity, motivation just doesn't seem to be there where it used to be. That's where she may start really kicking up the caffeine. Maybe she goes to the doctor. They say, all right, here's some Adderall, or, you need this. Or maybe she starts watching videos on Instagram like biohacking and nootropics. And okay, then I'm gonna pick up cold plunging. That'll slap the energy back into me, or whatever it is. She's still seeking the next mountain to climb in a way so that she can climb mountains. And then again, review number 3, dreams. Dreams carry a recurring theme of losing something, getting lost, or being lost. And it could be losing anything. It could be losing your keys. It could be losing your favorite pen. It could be losing a pet, a loved one, a friend, whatever. And then the fourth and final one is just that notice and awareness that I need more time to myself. I'm spending a lot more time contemplating, self-reflecting. I need space from people, friends, family members. And that's really important. Pay attention to that one, because if the heroine allows herself to sit with this awareness enough, with enough humility and sincerity, and I want to emphasize on those words, it takes a lot of humility and sincerity to sit with this, to not immediately go turn in that prescription for Adderall, to not immediately go spend hundreds of dollars on nootropics to make your brain work faster because you're not motivated enough, to not impulsively buy all the supplements and drink all the caffeine. If she can sit with this with sincerity and humility, she will notice the descent. This is where it gets really uncomfortable. And it's really uncomfortable. I'm right there and right now. I'm with y'all. It doesn't look like it, but the second that I turn this down and close out and say bye-bye, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm going through. I feel preoccupied, but I don't know by what. I can't tell you what I'm preoccupied with, but I also notice that the world out there is really preoccupied. And I can identify and I can name all the things that the world outside of me is really preoccupied, which then mirrors back to me. That's my preoccupation. I am preoccupying myself with what the world is preoccupied with. And that is a problem. And it's hard for me to sit with that, because my whole life, my whole educational and academic career, and my whole professional career has been built on understanding other people's minds and behavior. And so for me to sit with that is also very, very uncomfortable. I have to discern, if is this my own academic and professional mind, or is this something I just need to disengage from? And what clues me into the fact that I need to disengage from what the world is occupied with is because of the symptoms that I have experienced the past year, 2 years. I had the physical health issues. I've lost the drive and the ambition. I've disassociated, I would say, is the term I would use, from my own creativity. I've had lots of dreams about losing things and being lost. And I've definitely spiraled into more of an isolated lifestyle. And so if it weren't for all of those things, I may question myself about, am I in descent or not? Am I being initiated or not? But all of those things validate the fact that I am. And so this idea that I feel preoccupied, but I don't know what it is, but I can tell and name and label everything that the outside world is preoccupied with, I have to just pause and be like, well, that's my preoccupation. I need to disengage from that. The second one is there's a recurring, like, resurfacing emotions that don't really have a name or an origin. Sadness, grief, even tears may fall, and you don't know where they came from or why. You may find the heroine, her, you, she, may find herself crying over things that didn't usually provoke tears in her before. Give you an example. Just the other day, a sort of a symbolic icon in the United States and also the world, a conservative, I guess you'd say Republican conservative icon who is a symbol of something, was assassinated. I don't align with his views, Charlie Kirk. I agree with him on some things. I think he has a really interesting and wonderful style of debate. He is extremely intelligent, and I love to study his debate style. He's very smart. So I had a lot of respect for him in that sense. I just didn't agree with him morally or intellectually or philosophically on everything. I would say a lot of things. However, when he was assassinated, I cried. Like, I had tears. And of course, this is a huge story in the United States right now. And so anytime you open any social media, there's videos. It's now in the algorithm, whether you wanted it in your algorithm or not. You can't avoid it right now. It is such a big story. And so if I flip, and then I just see an old video that someone posted of Charlie Kirk engaging with a young mother holding her child, and there's music, I'm crying. I just start crying over this life that's lost, this woman who now has to raise children by herself. Normally, I wouldn't say I'm desensitized. It's just that wouldn't incite much emotion out of me normally. So that's another symptom, is things do provoke certain emotions. And I'll use another silly example of this. I like sports documentaries. And so Netflix has this series called Quarterback and Receiver. And I already watched all the quarterback ones, but I was rewatching it last week. And there's this one, as you can see, I am a Kansas City fan. I've been a Kansas City Chiefs fan since 1980. Just revealed my age. Neither here nor there. But there was a scene where they're interviewing Patrick Mahomes, and his wife, Brittany, is telling the camera a story about how they met. And it's just like we met in high school. He was 1 year younger than me. I thought he was cute, but it was the music. The music they were and I just started crying and I'm like, what is going on? And I'm a very contemplative person, so I'm like, let's dig into this, Sarah. And I'm still watching it, but also like what's playing in the back of my mind is like, what's happening right now? Those are things where it's like, am I pregnant? Do I need to go take a pregnancy test? Because like, what are these emotions? So I'm already trying to like, is it my hormones? Where am I in my cycle? But no, it's been a very consistent theme of like certain things draw out these emotions, but the thing that I think is provoking the emotion isn't really it. It's the only thing I can name. And so as those emotions begin to resurface, memories and repressed feelings will resurface. And you'll be confronted by those, especially if you are a contemplative person who allowed yourself in Gateway 5 to sit and contemplate. If this is your third, fourth time around the cycle of the heroine's journey, this is very familiar to you. It'll feel very familiar. If you're not familiar with the heroine's journey and you haven't done the work, which we'll be doing in our webinar series and in the course that's coming up, then you may come into this going, okay, I can relate to this is around the time that I was prescribed antidepressants or anti-anxiety medications. I'm taking medications to help me sleep. My loved ones have noticed things. My family's noticing things. I'm noticing this about myself. And so this sort of this idea that the loss of motivation and drive and ambition, if I sat with that without getting Adderall, without drinking more coffee, without all the nootropics, and descended, allowed myself to be initiated into this, it may present as depression. This is why it's really, really uncomfortable. And this is why, again, the heroine may slingshot between gateways 1 and 6 over and over before she finally begins to make it around the loop. She may slingshot back. I was sharing with Jen earlier a case study of mine, someone I know very personally, professionally, who's in their 40s, late 40s now, who still hasn't passed the initiation stage because it is so uncomfortable that she'll slingshot back to gateway 2 and then down, and then gateway 2 down, because the connection she has to the outside world, the successes and the achievements that she has made, the victories that she has accomplished are, as I'll recognize, are phenomenal. They're impressive, but an addiction has developed to that. And beyond the addiction, she doesn't know any other way to connect with the world but by continuing to prove herself, by continuing to climb yet another mountain. And for someone like her and a lot of women today, a lot of modern women, it is very difficult to step back and go, all right, I've climbed the highest peaks, in fact, dozens of them. And now I don't know what other peak am I going to climb? What other, challenge can I meet? And it's maybe I'll have another kid. Maybe this isn't the marriage for me. They will do anything to disengage and slingshot back up into how they connected with the outside world, because that's where the connection is. The connection with the self can feel so uncomfortable. And this isn't a criticism. This is all these are all necessary steps, but it just depends on how many times the heroine is willing to continue to slingshot in this half moon of the whole journey before she completes it. Because newsflash, I wouldn't say newsflash, just for the record, once she completes it, she's got to do it again, because she cannot do it all in one journey. the amount that must be reconciled and confronted and integrated and reclaimed cannot be done in one round journey. When she gets back up to the integration, she then must start again and pick up other pieces that she was not able to do. It's too overwhelming. And again, it's necessary. It's sort of like an Easter egg hunt. If you can remember being a kid. And I know, like, we'll do Easter egg hunts too with our kids, but we'll put them all out everywhere and we'll tell each kid, okay, once you get 10, then stop, because everybody has to have the same amount of eggs, right? So that's kind of like that on the heroine's journey. You can't go out there and collect 200 eggs at once. You're going to overflow the basket. You're going to have diabetes or whatever. It's just too much. So you have to go back. You have to revisit. You can't reclaim everything in one fell swoop. And so for those women that descent, each time she does the half moon slingshot, the masculine, the allies, the fire walking, the success, all the illusions of success, she's going to start to awaken to, like, oh, all right, I have it all, but it's still not enough. What do I do? Poof. And she's going to go back. Every time she hits it, it's going to be harder and harder because she's backlogging everything, but you can't stop time. She's getting older. Experiences are being collected. And if you continue to collect those experiences without initiation, then it just gets heavier and heavier. It's like burying yourself, 6 feet, 7 feet, 8 feet, 12 feet, 20 feet beneath the earth. It's going to take that much work and effort. So that's why these gateways are so important. It is not comfortable. It is uneasy. It is displeasing. The emotions, I'm telling you, I'm in it right now. It doesn't sound like it, but I promise you, when I close this computer and I go back into my office and I sit, it's not comfortable. You have to sit with that. You have to go, what is the sadness? You have to name the grief. You have to understand where the tears are really coming from, because it's not Patrick and Brittany Mahomes talking about how they met. Promise you, it's not that. And, a clue is my mother died a year ago. There's remnants of that I haven't fully fleshed out. All right, so that's that. That's the descent, all right? We talked about 2 of the 3 so far. You're preoccupied, but you don't know what you're preoccupied, but you can tell what everybody else is preoccupied with. That's one symptom. Then there's the resurfacing emotions that you've either repressed, suppressed, memories start to resurface, but these emotions, you can't name it, you can't pin it. And so it takes a lot of contemplation to really sit with that. It's not comfortable. The third one is the questions. If you do sit with it. And again, I've been talking to Jen about this for months. Who am I? What am I doing? Like, what should I do? Who should I be? Because it's like all of the successes that have gotten me to where I am now, all of the academic achievements, all of the degrees, all of the, courses I've written. Now what? I mean, again, I'm preoccupied by what the world is preoccupied, which preoccupies me to go, like, what do I even have to offer them right now? What am I actually giving the world right now? They don't care about this shit. They don't want to learn about the hero's journey. They don't want to know about women's hormones or reproductive health. They don't care about the relationships or the neo-spiritual woo-woo. Like, that's, which a lot of people think Jungian psychology and methodology is kind of woo-woo, but nobody cares about that. What they want to know about is who killed Charlie Kirk, and, all the chaos and the mess in the world. It's met with rage bait, fighting, arguing, moral superiority, moral inferiority, who's a racist, who's a xenophobe, who's a misogynist, all of those things. That's what the world is preoccupied. Why do they want to listen to me? And that's where I am right now. That's just being fully raw. And some women may relate to that, some may not. And if you don't relate to that, here's another example. Who am I? What am I doing? What should I be doing? Who should I be? That comes from that when she starts to awaken to this emptiness, this loss of ambition, lack of motivation. You can't push yourself to keep doing what you've always been doing with the amount of charge to your passion like you used to. You almost are immediately met with those questions like, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? Who should I be? Where do I go from here? And that could be, am I in the wrong marriage? Maybe I don't know who I am because I married the wrong person, or maybe I don't know who I am because I really never fulfilled my desire to be a mother. Maybe I do want to be a mother. Maybe I do want to have kids. It's just like all of the things that are missing in your life, or maybe you just have not fulfilled yet. I just stomped my foot when I said that. I have to emphasize it. You just haven't fulfilled everything you want to fulfill, but that goes back to your need to fill something by doing something. Nope. Unfortunately, this isn't my first rodeo with this initiation. And I know the answer is not to find something to fulfill. And yes, I know what y'all are thinking. Yes, I'm doing this. I'm doing the heroine's journey. But just so y'all know, Jen can validate me on this. I've been writing this course and studying this for 2.5 years now. It might be more than that. She says 3 years. For 3 years, she's been like, when are we going to do this? When are we going to do this? When are we going to do this? And I'm over here like, well, yeah, you got to do that first, and you got to do that first. And like, oh, now my mom is dying. Now I got to take care of her. Oh, we're moving her in here for hospice. And we're like, and she passes away. I spend a summer to grieve. And then Jen's like, when are we going to do this? And it's like, well, now we're doing this over here. And then it's just, I've been putting it off for so long. So just so you know, before you go like, gotcha, no, this has been in the works, and it was created like 3 years ago. I've just, I think this is actually the perfect time to do it, especially in my own initiation. And by the time we do the webinar series and the course, maybe I will be in Gateway 7, wanting to reconnect with the feminine. We'll see. Maybe I need to sit in this initiation into the descent, into my darkness a little longer this time. Maybe I'll challenge myself to sit in it longer than I did last. So yeah, the descent, the awakening to the emptiness, and the descent, which is the initiation portion of it. This is the edge of your seat. If the heroine's journey is a movie, if just one of these cycles was a movie, this is the edge of your seat scene. This is the part where you're just watching with the popcorn, like, what is she going to do? Like, oh. And then she has a memory comes up and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a realization. And then she contemplates over here, and it's just lots of dramatic music. This is that part of the heroine's journey, because you're on the edge of your seat. You're anticipating what's going to happen next. Is it going to be one of those movies where you're like, are you serious? Like that kind of a plot twist, all of that just to go slingshot herself back, all those realizations to be like, nah. And then it could be a plot twist, or it could be like you're anticipating her to move forward and reconnect with the feminine, the understanding what the yin is to her so far, life of yang, her journey of all yang that's burned her into the ashes. And she's going to start to move out of that descent into reconnecting with the feminine. That's the one where you're like on the edge of your seat just because you know it's happening. And the reason that you are on the edge of your seat with these movies and watching things like that where there is the heroine is because you can relate to it. And so I think I spoke about it a little bit in the last series of the video series, is that's a good way to know what your myth is. What is your myth? What's the myth that you're working on? think about what movies you're really inspired by or attracted to or kind of into lately. Um, as for me, for example, I've never been like a war, military, um, conspiracy theory kind of movies person. But I would say in the past year, like that's, you saw my Amazon and Netflix for you list. It's that's all it is. It's just like military war movies, espionage movies, and still working through that. But that exposes like a myth of mine, as I sort of shared the 5 main myths. So I don't want to rehash that too much in this video. If you didn't catch it, go check out the last video. But what movies are you attracted to? What sort of humor are you attracted to? What sort of novels or books or stories or just content in general inspires you or attracts you, captures you? Look at the themes behind that, because that can tell you what you're working on, and the double-headed dragon that you're trying to create. It's that the double-headed dragon where it's like you're trying to kill it off, but really you're wanting to mesh it all together and make it your own myth. So that's the clues. Again, also I mentioned we talked about that in the values course, which is on BodhiBuilding, as well as the creating change course, which is it's very deep. I think everybody should take that course. That took a long time for me to put together, but it is hugely impactful for anybody who's sort of feeling lost. And that's what descent and initiation can feel like. It feels like you're lost. Your dreams were trying to warn you. That's why you're dreaming about losing stuff and getting lost, being lost, and trying to find your way. It was warning you. It's like, this is where we're going. And then you initiate, you go into the dark depths. I think, as I explained to a client of mine the other day, she's kind of going through hers too. It just feels like you're naked and you're just walking over the skeletal bones of all the things that have sort of died in your life, your passions, your dreams, your aspirations, your belief systems, and you're just kind of walking naked over this in a sense. And that imagery was inspired to me by Maureen Murdoch, who also kind of on the I think she was also inspired, but Maureen Murdoch talks about the heroine's journey as well. And she was inspired a lot by Marion Woodman, I quote her and reference her a lot. And so if you're interested also in learning a lot about those things, and you really like getting deep into psychology aspects, psychoanalytical aspects of things, you like reading nonfiction type educational sciencey books. Maureen Murdoch, she's less sciencey, more inspirational. She talks a lot about myth and mythology, and she uses a lot of ancient mythologies and storytelling to share like what the heroine's journey is. Whereas Marion Woodman is very she's a Jungian analyst and uses a lot of Jungian theory to describe that. So if you're into that, those are 2 really great authors. So that's where we're going to leave it. We're going to leave it at the initiation, the descent into that darkness. And the reason we're leaving it here is because, yes, it can overlap to Gateway 7. But you got to be on the edge of your seat because this is part of the movie. This is part of the heroine's journey where you're like, what is she going to do next? But I feel like if you're watching this video right now, I may have given you a lot to think about, a lot to contemplate. Again, when we awaken to that emptiness, that we cannot, there's just something that's not fulfilling about this pursuit of success. How many kids I'm going to have, how many diplomas I'm going to have, how many promotions or houses or new cars or relationships, whatever that I'm going to have. Just something's not being filled and I'm running out of steam. And so just to recap again, the physical health will show you how you're, on your journey, your body has become the battleground for that. Constant pursuit, your drive, ambition, motivation, creativity starts to tank. Your dreams about losing things or being lost, and then you're sort of this unconscious, almost instinctive pull or withdrawal from things that and activities and people that you once loved. That precedes this descent into the preoccupied mind that can't really identify what is preoccupying me. Then the emotions that you can't name, you can't originate them from anything, the resurfacing memories. And then the third is these questions: who am I? What am I doing? What do I do next? Who am I going to be? Where so far along the heroine's journey, she has externalized those. And so here she is, she's asking those questions, but she's not getting any answers. She has no answers, because this is what is going to push her through a lot of pressure of this discomfort of this gateway to connect to herself, to find the connection within herself and allow herself to sit and hear those answers from within, not from without. Jen, do you have anything to add that I may have missed?
No, I think you, as always, you always seem to encompass everything. But I think the only thing that I was kind of thinking that you might want to touch on is like, why would people want to do this?
Which part? What that they want to do? Why would they
Like,
want to
why?
descent?
Yeah. So, like, when you say that they're slingshotting back kind of between gate 2 and gate 6,
Mm-hmm.
that, um, they keep going back forth, right? So, why is it important for people to integrate this type of healing into themselves?
That's a good question. Yeah, I should have emphasized on that more, because I think I metaphorically gave the image of, like, if you keep doing that, you're burying
Mm-hmm.
yourself deeper into the earth. 6 feet,
Mm-hmm.
12, 20 feet. It just makes it harder for you to get out. It makes if you go into the descent, it makes it darker, deeper, heavier, more chaotic, more disturbing if you ignore it and then keep going back and keep coming back, because you're just adding more weight to it. And the sense of betrayal. So when we think about this awakening portion, gateway number 5, she begins to awaken to the fact that this pursuit of success has been a betrayal of herself. So imagine, consciously, you're like aware of that. Okay, I've betrayed myself, but then you go back to what's comfortable and familiar again. And by the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth time you've gone through this, you each time you have to confront the fact that you almost willingly abandoned
Mm-hmm.
yourself again, and then consciously came to that realization again and chose again to do it. And so each time you're realizing how much you just cannot be with yourself, connect with yourself, reclaim yourself. So the only person you can be angry at is yourself. And that over time, that becomes such a heavy burden that it's almost impossible to meet that realization with any humiliate without any sort of like humility, but yet humanity for yourself. It's so difficult. And it is easier to slingshot back and just do that and be like, I'll try again next life. Because um
And I'm sure that is the case with a lot of
yes,
people. They
yes,
would go their whole life without realizing that they are abandoning themselves,
yes,
time and time and time and time and time and time and time again.
yes.
So
I
you could actually kind of look at this like it's a pattern of recognition to look at yourself, like that introspection on yourself.
Yes,
And by doing so, you're opening up who you are authentically.
You're reclaiming. You can't do that.
Right.
You can't reclaim yourself unless you do that. But the more you abandon yourself, the more you have to reclaim, and that becomes a heavy burden, because we're not talking about the little girl who was conditioned in a classroom or in her home.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the adult, the very conscious, willing adult who denied that opportunity, and it's very, very difficult. But beyond that, when you look at like that gateway number 5 and all of those symptoms, each time, if you, the reason you want to go through this, as we're saying, like the more you keep denying it and slingshotting yourself back, the physical health gets worse. If you
Mm-hmm.
ignore your body, it's you can't pill everything. You can't band-aid everything. Eventually, if you don't solve the root issue of it, it's going to destroy. And that's why some people get so far into their lives ignoring this. They end up with early onset menopause. They end up with bone loss, cancer, Alzheimer's dementia. Think about it, metaphorically speaking. When it's too difficult to know and remember, you the body just needs, the mind is like, we have to forget. And that's the piece that one can find as easy as possible. The body is just like, I'm trying, I can no longer try. It's too much. Now, I'm not saying that in all cases, but 3 out of 4 Alzheimer's patients are women. Just take it for what it's worth. The dreams are no longer just themes of losing something, they become nightmares, night terrors. The withdrawal and need for more isolation and contemplation is no longer just that. It does become depression, and it does become apathy. And
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing more difficult to overcome. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of difficult things to overcome, but in terms of actually taking the leap and going in to that initiation, to truly descending into that darkness, to have communion with yourself, reconnect with your soul, um, can be so difficult if you're going in with the heaviness, the weight of knowing you did this to yourself. So all the pain that you're about to confront, the fear, the sadness, the grief, the rage, that if you're well into adulthood, 40s, 50s, 60s, you're the majority of that is what you've done to yourself. That's really difficult. That's identity shattering.
Yeah.
So people
It's
who
very
are
painful. Very, very painful. And you can see why people don't want to address it. Like,
right.
you really can. Especially when it's become so entrenched when you are of that age, you know?
Hmm.
Um, it's hard to see that you need to. I think, I mean, I'll speak for myself. Like, it's hard to want to put the motivation into the change, into making the changes so that your life is better.
Yeah.
Because we're just so, we live in a society where it's just like, no, like you, when you were speaking about your friend, you know, she just kept going, kept going, kept going. And
She's
that's
still going.
just, we're just, and she's still going, right? And we see that is a badge of honor in our society, is that just
Yeah.
keep going and you'll figure it out. Well, no, you have to turn around and look at what's really going on.
Yeah. And you will be confronted by the myths over and over, but this is the myths of, um, where you feel like your self-doubt, your self-esteem, your identity and everything is like, rather than proving it to the world, there is a fear going into this initiation where you are beginning to see more themes of grief and sadness, even maybe tears, also rage, resurfacing memories that are very difficult to not just confront, but to embrace
Hmm.
and sit with. Uh, these are all breadcrumbs. They're just clues taking you home. And it's important when you go into this that you know that every emotion, every resurfacing memory, every time you find yourself preoccupied, every time you can't place the origin or name a feeling, every time you ask who am I and you don't hear the answer, these are all just breadcrumbs leading you home. You think of it that way, you know that even though you feel like you're sitting still, you aren't. You are still moving, and it just doesn't feel that way. If you allow that, um, you'll find yourself on the other side. It actually is quite pleasant. I've been there a few times. I can't wait. I can't wait to do it again, but I'm not going to rush through it this time. I didn't rush through it last time, but I think I can sit a little longer too, because I also
Mhm.
have a husband and I have a family that knows what I do, and they understand these cycles. I've educated them on that. So when they see mom or their wife kind of just needing more alone time, that's acceptable. Some women don't have the families or the community that's normalized in any way. They tell
Mhm.
themselves, "What's wrong with you? When are you going to just animate yourself again? There's a lot of unintentional shame and guilt put on women that makes them slingshot back, because they feel a sense of responsibility and duty to those around them. And if those around them are not comfortable with this part of the heroine's journey and what she's going through, um, she'll escape from it prematurely too, find herself right back there again. So I understand that's hard, but we'll review this in a summary next week when we start talking about Gateway 7 and reconnecting with the feminine, and what that looks like. We'll sort of summarize this video as we go into that next week, because there is sort of like a very perfect segue into that can be very graceful. And so I'll cover a lot of that and ways to, I don't say cope, because you don't want to cope through this. You just want to sit with it. Um, there is no coping. It's just experiencing it. And that's going to have a beautiful and very graceful transition to the next gateway. So we'll talk about that next week in the next video. And there's links below if you want to sign up for the newsletter. It's a lot of meat. It's a lot of meat, and it helps prepare for these videos. And join us on BodhiBuilding, because you can then go into the forums, ask all the questions, have Q&A, make it personal for you, make it individual for you, and stay tuned for the webinar series and the course. All right, we'll see you guys in the next video.